Well, it took us long enough to dig it up, but you think we should open this?
Really?
I mean, it's only got some markings on it.
Really? You think we should open this?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't read any of these runes. They might say, the happy fun time inside.
Look, let's set aside that we don't know what the runes on this thing say. It's a sarcophagus. Best case scenario, there's a body in there. That's like best case scenario, there's a body in there.
No, there might be fun stuff.
I don't know, that's a very
Gems,
head and legs and
jewels,
arms and body shape and size.
It could be anything.
Well, look, here's the thing. I don't think we should open something that's glowing this much.
It's only glowing a little bit, and only when it's under the moonlight.
Look, anything you dig up that glows, my first worry is it's radioactive. That's a bad... It's bleeding.
It is... that might not be blood. That could be treacle.
It's made of stone, and I'm pretty sure that's blood, not treacle.
Look, I'm going to open it. It's already leaking. We might as well.
Oh god, the spikes that are coming out as you try and open this thing. I'm concerned.
Okay, it seems fine. There's no body in here, just a number of stone plates.
Somehow that's worse. That's worse. Also, maybe we let something out that we couldn't see. I don't know.
It's doing weird things to my eyes.
Yeah, I
couldn't read the runes a minute ago, but now this is clear as day.
Oh, my brain does not like to process that this is here.
Yeah. Okay. So, on Tuesday the 13th of September 2022...
Oh no, that sounds like a prophecy that we've stumbled upon.
2 queer trans ladies...
Okay.
...shall record a podcast.
I don't like that someone in the past knew.
They shall discuss things they've played, watched, and listened to. And do silly voices.
Are we part of some long foretold prophecy? I don't think I'm ready for that pressure.
And skits.
Yeah.
And then that shall go live to Patreon supporters probably on the Thursday, because there's an embargo thing we're going to talk about this week.
Oh god, they even know about the embargo.
They know about
fuck.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh god, what have we done?
Well, we've fulfilled the prophecy.
I'm concerned that I don't know whose prophecy we have fulfilled, but I hope it's a positive one.
There shall be great fear from the one of the blue hair.
Oh no!
And then there shall be interstitial music. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast where 2 queer trans women talk about the things we've been doing in the week, and my voice is already starting to go, which is a worrying sign.
You've done a lot of talking today. And you still have many more talks to do.
I live streamed a Nintendo Direct, and then did a 2-hour podquisition, and now we're on Queer and Pleasant Strangers, and there's a State of Play presentation, and Dice Funk still to do tonight.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha.
The lady who does all the podcasting.
I'm doing all the things, so apologies if my voice comes and goes a little bit tonight.
I'd have thought you're training from your year or so of 11 podcasts a week.
Well, see, here's the thing. Generally, a day like this would have been fine, but I've been travelling as well.
Slightly run down on top
I'm slightly run down, and I did a bunch of, I did talks in rooms where I had no microphone, so I had to project to the back of the room a bunch, and my voice has been through it this week.
Well...
But... you know what else we've been through this week?
We've been through things we played.
Yes.
Do you want to tell them about things we played?
Should we start with the thing we've both been playing a bit of? The thing that's embargoed until Thursday morning.
Oh, Saturday is no me and go blame. Keep on down. We played some Wayward Spirit.
Wayward Strand. Wayward Strand.
I know what it's called.
The second game in the Strand genre.
Oh.
Are you aware of this? This is apparently...
Aware that this was a sequel.
No, it's not a sequel. It's, what's the game called? Death Stranding?
Oh,
Kojima kept insisting that it's the first game in the Strand genre.
I see.
And there's never been another Strand game, so now we have Wayward Strand.
And Hideo Kojima personally approached you and were like, hey, big fan of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. would you like code?
Yeah, that's definitely what happened.
Thanks, Hideo.
Now, we both got sent code for a game called Wayward Strand,
We did,
which is...
It's quite unusual for me to get sent code.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful art styled little indie game.
It really is.
Set in from what I can tell is like an alternate universe modern day, in that it seems to be set...
It's set in the 70s.
It's set in the 70s, but like history is exactly the same except we have a floating airship hospital old person's home.
I mean, theoretically it could exist. I don't know how long it could stay up there.
I mean, there's an awful lot of metal on it. This is not a real thing that exists, but it sort of...
the Hindenburg had a lot of metal on it.
I suppose.
Like, those kind of airships did exist.
It looks like you took a cruise ship and you put a blimp, the top of a blimp on it to make it float.
The bottom's not that big, really.
I don't know. But, it is a floating hospital / old person's home.
Yes, that used to be a luxury liner.
Yeah, that you play as this 14-year-old girl who's been dragged along by your mum, who is a nurse there.
You just want to do journalism, but she's like, you talk to these oldies.
Yeah, so
and stop using phrases like kick the bucket.
Yeah, so the gist seems to be that, like, some big event is happening in a few days here, and whatever it is has all of the nurses very fucking busy, and they do not have time to be spending face-to-face time with the patients there. So you have been brought along to go talk to people and keep people company and have conversations, and it is a game about being a 14-year-old having conversations with old people. It's real lovely.
Yeah, there's some very lovely characters. Some right characters.
I think there is a very good diversity of characters.
Yes. There is that one person, I don't know if you've met them, they were immediately like, what are you doing in my room?
I was going to say Dr. Beauregard.
Yes.
Or Dr. something.
Dr. B.
Dr. B. Yeah, so the thing I like about this game is it captures a few things really well, I think. It captures the awkwardness that can exist between young people and old people, and that sort of awkward silence of I don't know how to connect with you because we have very different experiences.
Yes. Also, just hang out for a while is an option, and sometimes things happen when you just hang out for a while.
I really like this game's attitude toward being patient and not trying to force your way through dialogue prompts, and as soon as you've exhausted the dialogue, run away.
Yes.
Because like so many games like this would be talk about all of the things and there's nothing left to talk about, you just leave and go find someone else to talk to. But here, you just quietly sit, and sometimes
you'll get offered a cup of tea.
Yeah, sometimes they'll offer to tell you about something that they wouldn't have done if you just pressed them for questions.
Yes.
Because you just enjoyed their company for a while. Sometimes someone will come in and have a conversation around you.
Yep.
It really,
sometimes you'll be invited to follow people.
Yeah.
And that's quite a nice mechanic of, hey, do you want to join us for lunch? Cool, I'll come and join you for lunch, and then your character will just follow them there at a set pace without you having to chase them like it's an escort mission.
I really appreciate that, like, just quietly sitting and not feeling the need to fill dead air being a conversation mechanic is really beautiful.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I also really like how different the approaches are that you have to take toward how to get people to open up.
Yes.
Because, like, you talked about Dr. B, who is very... Why are you in my room? Get out. What do you want from me? And, like, the reasons why she is that way are very understandable. Have you not...
I've only played the first day.
I've played the first day and most of the second day, and then replayed the second day because I didn't realise there was absolutely zero autosaving during the days.
Oh.
Yeah, if you quit a day partway through, you go right back to the start of the day.
Okay, so
that is a thing I would warn people about.
My experience with this was I started the game, and then I ADHD'd real hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will come back to this another time. Second time, I loaded it, got distracted between clicking continue, and then next thing I knew, it was like 10:30 in-game time, and somebody was ignoring me. It was like, oh dear.
Yes. But like, yeah, because time moves on all the time.
Yep.
And people sort of go about living their lives, and you definitely can't be everywhere all at once. And you have to go, what am I interested in, what threads do I want to be following, and who do I want to be spending my time with.
And as far as I can tell, that's not necessary so far to min-max that in any way.
No,
You can just sort of go, well, this is where I was, this is the thing I
yeah.
did,
But
these are the people I met.
yeah, but as I was saying, I think I really like the differences between some of the characters because you're very very early on prompted towards one particular character right near your starting location who is very willing to just open up about anything without much pushing.
And she seems to know you already, so
Yeah.
I think that helps.
But there's Dr. B who's very standoffish because of very understandable reasons. There is a character upstairs, I've forgotten her name now, who is non-verbal.
Yes, Tommy.
Yes, Toby, who...
Tommy. T-O-M-A.
Tommy, yeah. Tommy is lovely and fascinating, and I really like that the game, very early on makes it clear she understands what's going on, and she does crave social interaction. Just because she's not talking doesn't mean she's not listening and not valuing the social time.
Yeah.
And that's a very different experience of learning how to socialize with someone who is nonverbal and how to ensure that you are providing them with community as well as you would everyone else who you have back and forth conversations with. And I like how different all of the characters feel and how different all of their voice lines are delivered, for example.
Yes.
Oh.
There's the elderly man who used to tour with his wife.
Yes, the Austrian man.
Who, he's got a very slow, methodical,
yes.
speech pattern.
He speaks perfect English, but he has pacing that sounds like he's having to think through the words a little more consciously.
I couldn't tell if it was that or if it was partly just exhaustion.
Yeah.
He talks several times about, I am old. It's because I am old.
There is someone who explicitly says that he is the oldest person living there. One of the first conversations I had with him, we had to stop the conversation because he needed to have a nap at 2 p.m. And I think that is definitely part of it as well.
I think we must have met him about the same time.
Yeah.
Because, I met him and he was like, I need to have my rest. And then...
Was that when...
It was just before lunch, because I then went to Tommy and the nurse came and got Tommy for lunch.
Yes.
So we all went to lunch together, and then he came in and had lunch, and after that I went back and chatted to him.
I really like him. The first time I met him was very early in the morning, I think, on the first day.
Right.
And he was sat watching the sunrise out the big window in the dining hall.
Yes, and I think he's on the same floor as Ida, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably why then.
But yeah, we had that, and then we had a conversation on the second day where he was sat watching the rain and he'd put a record on, and we had a conversation about how the rain sounds different when you pair it with music. It changes its context, and all of these characters have such interesting little personal stories to share if you take the time to work out what they need from an interaction with you.
Yeah. There was a weird moment towards the end of the first day where I went back to see Ida for the second or third time.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of time left, and I was like, I'm just gonna sweep this floor again.
Yeah.
Check on everyone because Mum said meet her at 6, so I'm just gonna keep going until probably 6, and then leave and be I'm coming, sir, I'm coming late.
Yeah.
Or until what does happen is that sometime around 27 minutes past 5. Mum calls you over the intercom.
Yeah, I completely missed that intercom call, and I also thought she said we finished at 6, and then she came and angrily came and got me and was upset at me for not being down at 5, and I was like, I was trying to help, and then she was very dismissive of me having done any work all day. I was like, I went and met so many people. It was so good. I tried so hard. It was so good. But
so far.
I don't think it's that I've been doing anything wrong. I really get the impression it's just that Mum is really stressed over whatever this thing that's happening in a few days is. Which my guts, I don't know this for certain, but my gut says that they're having some big inspection and the place might get shut down.
Oh, maybe decommissioning the hospital?
I feel like that is the vibe, and that the nurses are desperately trying to get the place into passable shape so that it doesn't get shut down.
And also something so there was, I went to see Ida,
Mm.
And just before, like just around 5 o'clock, and something I hadn't really been thinking about, like it's made quite a big thing of it at the beginning that your character wants to be a journalist.
Yeah.
She briefly talks to Ida about it early on,
Yeah.
and then there's a bit later on where you're having this conversation with Ida, and you get the little writing prompt of
Yes.
a character has said something of interest, and you have noted it down.
Yeah.
And the prompt came up, and it made the little scribble noise, and then Ida went, "Oh, you're writing."
Yes.
It's like, hang on.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's little moments like that make this feel weirdly alive.
Yes.
It is charming, and like I can already, like, having played through like day 2, I can see where there is room for some of these stories to have some sadness in them, and I can see where some things are maybe going, but
Yes.
yeah, this is some of the best written and acted both children and old people in video games I think I've ever seen.
Speaking of children and old people, have you tried chatting to Joe, the nurse?
Oh, yeah.
He does not have time for you at all.
But again, I don't think
Go to work, go work. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but I
wanted to introduce myself more than anything
But again,
else.
I feel like that's because, and again, haven't finished it, but like, I feel like the nurses are all super stressed about something, and it's like, it's not that you've done anything wrong, and if you'd met them a couple of weeks earlier, they'd probably be behaving very differently. You've just met them at the apex of a very stressful period in life.
We should find out.
But yeah, I wish I'd had more time to play more of it today before
Yes.
Queer and Pleasant Strangers. Had to do surprise podquisition recording a day early, which kind of ate a few hours of my day, but
I haven't had a huge amount of focus on like this kind of heavy narrative. Like I've wanted the fact that I've loaded it like 4 times ago and I'm gonna play it, and then like fucked up through two out of 3 of those 2 out of 4 of those times. Yeah, so I got all the way through the first day in like my 4th attempt, and then like I'd done a little bit on the first
Yeah.
attempt. So like I got an idea. I had a good bit of go at the beginning bit. Really enjoyed the first day, and now just need a solid time period to go back and do it full
Yeah.
day, because I feel like you do need to like focus on the full day,
yes.
where you're going, what you're doing, who you've chatted to, who you haven't chatted to.
Yeah. But
Curious leads about what is with the bears, etc.
oh, the little bear statues, yeah.
Little bears.
It is really sweet, and I need to work out how many in-game days it's going to be. I'm curious about length on it.
Well, I think something about 3 days was mentioned, because I think
Yes.
your character is supposed to be there for 3 days.
It's sure...
I don't know if there is more to it
Yeah.
than that, though.
That's the thing. Having played the second day, it sure seems like the third day is going to be when whatever this thing is happening. And I don't know whether the narrative progresses beyond that.
Who's going to
But
say?
day 3 definitely seems significant, and I'm excited to talk more about this next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayward Strand is real neat.
Yeah, enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else have you played?
What else have I played? I can very quickly rattle this one off. I finished I finished playing through Xenoblade 3. I racked up about 135 hours in the end.
Wow.
I got every single hero, including all of the optional ones from all of their side quests. I did all of the loyalty missions. I did as many side quests as I could find. I really went down the rabbit hole on this one. I hit the level cap with every member of my party. Meaning that I went to the final boss fight like 25, 30 levels above where I needed to be level-wise.
If it's anything like Xenoblade 2, I seem to remember they talked about the fact that it does scale, so... Did you find it a complete wipe?
It was somewhat of a somewhat of a wipe. I did not mind that, because here's the thing about this game. It is very much a story about bringing people together to overcome a problem bigger than yourself.
Right.
And the way that the narrative at the end comes together really does make it so that if you go in over-leveled, it feels narratively justified.
Okay.
Because you've spent... To be that over-leveled, you probably have had to spend a long time going and helping all of these other factions, that are coming to aid you at the end.
Oh.
And you have gone and helped so many people in so many ways that are lending their power now that it feels thematically appropriate for you to be a bit overpowered.
Okay.
But yeah, I really like that game. Its first 10 to 15 hours are pretty linear and a lot of narrative and tutorials.
Mm-hmm.
But once it opens up, it is a really neat story about trying to find ways to end war in situations where war is just all that people have known, and trying to work out what life looks like when war suddenly stops and you have to put together the pieces of post-war life again.
Mm.
And there's a bunch of really interesting... All of the little towns and communities and factions you explore have really well-defined, unique things they're going through. The interweaving of all of the side quests to sort of lead back into each other, and, like, one side quest will reference another side quest you did in the past and be influenced by the events in that. It all feels part of this one really big world coming together.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think
Yay.
it's a fantastic fucking game.
Enough to get the DLC?
I think so. I really want to play more of this game. It's fantastic. It might be my favourite Xenoblade.
Oh, shit.
It's pretty good. What about you? What have you been playing this week?
We played some things together.
What did we play together?
We played some boarded games.
We did!
So we got in our, gosh, so I think there's 12 games, so we've just played games 8 and 9 of Clank Legacy.
Yeah.
So we're quite a long way through the Legacy campaign now.
We've got 2 missions left to do.
Yes.
Yes, we have 2 missions left to do, and yeah, Clank Legacy continues to be really fun.
Oh, yes.
The pacing of each mission's been very different.
Yes, I think we've only had one that was super, super, super quick. We had one that ended up being quite quick because we were a little bit reckless with it, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, for the most part, like, I had to, within our first 3 games, get my head around the fact that this is not just Clank with extra bits.
Yes.
This is, you are going to play a really slow game of Clank that is probably going to take 2-3 hours.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot more conversation around the board than there might be in a normal game of Clank.
Yeah.
Because I think normally with most deck builders it's like, right, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. Okay, I'm going to play my hand, blah, 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 blah. And someone might go, oh,
Yeah.
you've played your whole deck,
Yeah.
well done, GG. But if... In this, it's more a, hey, I'm going to try and do this, you're going to try and do that. Like, there is a certain level of cooperation,
Yeah.
but also everyone is ultimately going for their own...
Or at the very least, coordination. And,
yeah,
like,
degree of coordination.
yeah.
And also, like, when any of us has sort of raised a, hey, I don't feel like this need for mine is being met in this party, that we have sort of sat down, like, right near the beginning there was the one where I felt I just got really screwed over.
Yes. The one where there was a mission that seemed like thematically and tonally yours, and you'd found the mission, and it
Yes.
seemed very for you, and then someone else sniped it, and then didn't even do the mission.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, like, recently, and we had a whole
Yeah.
conversation about that before we played our second session, and that was all sorted and fine. And this time it was like, hey, person feels like they've not done as much story stuff as everyone
Yeah.
else. So we were like, okay, we're going to funnel you at story.
Yeah.
What can I do to help you get more story stuff? And I think they ended up doing every single bit of story in a very story. I think maybe
Definitely most of it.
Yeah, I think you maybe got 1 or 2 because
I think I found
because, and even
yeah.
that was a, hey, I'm heading this way.
I'm near there. Do you mind if I get
Do you
it
mind
if I'm not sniping it from you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that we are.
I think we found a good balance as a group.
Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah, it's been really fun. I think that like they've done a really good job of keeping like the objectives of what you're doing feeling fresh.
Yes.
We recently had one that was like a very different kind of mission where there were like 4 objectives to do that were all laid out from the start that were like do one thing you would probably do at some point in a Clank game, spend a bunch of resource, and be in a certain type of place to complete a thing, and they were really fun.
We had a really fun puzzle.
Yeah.
Work a thing out based on a riddle.
Oh, that riddle was
That
great.
had us all, like, scratching our heads for about 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden you eurekaed it halfway through somebody else's move.
I think everyone really contributed to that, because you worked out which places matched the numbers. Someone else at the table worked out, like, a certain place almost seemed like it fit, and then I noticed something that meant, no, that place you noticed does fit. And together we solved a
And I
riddle.
also like the way the manual dealt with that. Like, hey, so you're trying to solve this thing. Here is a map of the board.
Where are you?
If you are... And there was like 7 different places.
Yeah.
It was theorising you could
I'd
be.
love to look at what the other ones pointed to, what happens at the other locations.
Maybe once we finished.
Yeah.
Something to try and sort of put a bookmark in and remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really fascinating. Just like... Because I was sat there like, how is it going to do this in a way that actually makes sense?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, what do you do if you're in none of those places?
Yes. Oh, and then the thing where a card just was like, hey, hey.
Oh, yes.
Hey.
A card that had been on the table
Yeah.
the whole time and we'd never noticed.
It's just like, hey, have you noticed?
Have you noticed the
Have you
thing?
noticed? If so...
If you've noticed the thing, you should probably read a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How do we go 8 games into this, 9 games now into this, and not notice this thing? I could have been there right from the beginning, theoretically. And
Yeah.
we never considered it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the more of Clank Legacy we've played, the more I've really grown to like it.
Yeah.
It's grown on me a lot over time, and part of that was getting my head around what it wanted.
Yes.
And part of that is just the ways it's expanded.
Yeah, and also like the way we've been able to make our own mark on it.
Yeah.
Like being able to name characters or parts of cards.
Or depending which order we went to certain places, stickers got placed in certain places.
Or even just flavour text on some of the cards.
Yeah, the flavour text has been some of the best stuff.
Yes, the flavour text is well written.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed that about it.
But yeah, it's been really nice, like, getting to customise our home base and
name a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, even when stuff's got bad and we've been given, like, punishments, it's felt like those have added to the flavour of the story.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying about, like, lots of talking collectively around the table, I think that the events have really helped with that, where when a new turn starts, there's a good chance that something will happen everyone will have to have an input on.
Yes.
So even if it's not your turn, there is a good chance we turn that card over, there might be something that impacts you even outside of your turn.
I think of all the Legacy games we've played, this, I think, is probably the one I would find easiest to recommend to people.
Yeah.
Because you will very definitely have a completely unique version of this game at the end of it.
And that's not to say that it's my favourite Legacy game we've played, but I think
for sheer not throwing shit away.
Yeah. I think it's a complete package that will persist after you've played it, and that offers, I think, a very complete package of what a Legacy game can be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing that drew me to Betrayal Legacy. Like, it's Betrayal, but it will be your personalised copy, and you will still not have seen most of the content by the end of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, genuinely curious about that. And yeah, what else have you played?
Well, we played other boardy game type things together.
We play other board games.
We played Canvas, which is that game about layering cards together to make art that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
We finally played it in 4-player, which I don't believe we've ever done before.
No, I think we've only played between the two of us.
Yeah, it is definitely a different game in 4-player because, you know, any game with a shop row is going to be very different when you have to wait considerably more turns before you get another chance to buy things. There's a much greater chance of things you want being purchased before you get back to your turn.
Or things turning up during your turn and you just go, I'm not even going to think about that until it comes back to me because there is no point getting possessed.
Yeah.
That does, however, I feel like slow the game down a little bit because you can't really plan ahead.
Yes. Like, you can maybe plan ahead, like a person before it gets to you and hope that it doesn't go, but yeah, there is a certain degree more of watching other people take their turns because it doesn't really make sense to super plan your turn because there's a good chance the thing will be gone.
Yes. Although we did all have a good time talking
Yeah.
about our art.
We did.
Because we've got the Kickstarter edition, which has the little easels in it. So it was very much, I would like to present my latest piece. It is called whatever was on the card. And we had some fun with that. And like the way the transparencies like merge together to make this thing. Like very often you'll have like a large feature on one side, a large feature on another. And then you'll maybe have some like border or overlay type stuff. Like there's a lot of windows. There's a barbed wire thing. There's like open curtains in there. And one of our players got a really good one that was like a tower on one side, a tower on the other side, and then just like a nice foreground bit.
Yeah, it was little paper airplanes falling between the two towers.
It was really pretty.
Yeah. That's a lovely little game, that.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got to try it in higher play accounts, and hopefully we will get to play that with them again.
Yeah.
What else? What else have you played?
Another one I can quickly rattle off. I believe I've talked about We Are OFK on this podcast before.
Yes!
That sort of narrative game about a bunch of gays trying to make a band together.
That's also a music video.
That's also interactive music videos and whatnot. Episode 5 of that is finally out. I played through it once I got back from travelling, and that is a really sweet, heartfelt story about a bunch of messy, complicated characters, all of who are kind of fucked up in their own ways, but ultimately it's very much a story of, hey, we're all kind of fucked up and we've all hurt each other unintentionally, but let's be fucked up together. Let's support each other and look after each other and be fucked up messes together. And that is very relatable and understandable. I think that there are some really, really interesting character stories told. There's a lot of subversion of expectations and characters that I thought were purely going to be bad people not turning out as such, or people I thought were purely good people in situations not turning out as such, and some shades of grey and some like sensible adult conversations about the messy middle ground that sometimes comes with trying to be a human interacting with other humans and trying to balance your needs and other people's needs and all the various messy things that go on in life.
Mm-hmm.
It is a really beautiful, beautiful piece of art. It is certainly not flawless, and it's certainly not going to be for everyone. Like, I keep comparing it to like I compared the interactive music videos, to Sayonara Wild Hearts. Definitely not as mechanically polished.
Okay.
There is one in particular, the music video at the end of episode 4 is very Sayonara Wild Hearts. It includes a section of you skateboarding from a behind you perspective, side to side, collecting. It's very Sayonara Wild Hearts, just doesn't play as well. Like, it feels a little rough around the edges. It's not going to be for everyone in that it has fairly limited interactivity. It is a TV show with some choice-based dialogue elements, more than it is a, like, even like a Telltale game or something, but it is a beautiful story, wonderful music, such engaging characters. I thought the plot was fantastic start to finish, and if nothing else, I think it is a really interesting case study in promoting a new band, because OFK are a band. They have music on Spotify. The music industry is incredibly hard to get noticed in, and this is a hell of a fucking way to get your debut EP noticed, is have a really engaging, fantastic story that also is like, hey, now that you've finished it, here's our first 5 songs that we made throughout, that the characters made throughout the story, but also, they're here, we're a band, enjoy our music. It's fascinating, and a game that there really isn't anything else quite like.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What have you played this week?
I played a game called 100 Days Winemaking Simulator.
Tell me about 100 Days Winemaking Simulator.
It was free on Epic.
Okay.
Like all of the games I have, I think, except maybe one, I did not have to pay for it.
Most of my Epic library is the same.
There's just log in every week, claim the game, and never look at it again. So I wasn't sure what to expect from this. It had quite nice sort of low poly. I don't know what you call it. You know how that like low poly art style you get, but not 3D.
Yeah.
Not really. I don't think.
I know what you mean.
So basically, you are a office worker who is clearly not having a great time, and then a friend of family, I'm guessing, dies, leaving their vineyard to you. Just like, hey, it's probably not exactly ideal. I am leaving my vineyard to you. Lots of other people want it, so good luck. I've left a series of letters for you. The introduction to the game is quite nice because you start off in the office and it's like, hey, you have 2 cards. As you drag them out from the bottom, from your hand basically, they will turn into like polyomino tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Put them on the thing and put them on this 3x3 grid. And if there's more than one card, maybe try and squeeze as many in as you can, which will get progressively more difficult. And it's like, that is a nice introduction to the game. Now we're going to get onto the wine ship. And it's, you have some very long dialogue with some mildly interesting people about how do wine. So the first one's like, haha, I'm just going to be your general guide. And the next one's like, I'm the grumpy bastard. And I will be later vitally important to the plot. And then there's like, I'm the gossipy one. Ha 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 ha. I will cause minor amounts of chaos. Also, there is a cute cat.
Yeah.
And a wine shop person. Bar? Wine bar? Kind of.
Okay.
It's a tastorium, I guess.
Okay.
Among other things. There
Yeah.
is drinking of wine and I believe there is food. And then there's some weird new agey type. Ah, yes, you've come for the holistic plate.
Ooh.
We will give you samples of all these different foods and also 30 types of wine to taste or something like that at lunchtime. But none of that is particularly important.
Okay.
What is important is just that you have 4 seasons, 5 days each.
Yep.
Pretty short stuff. So you need to weed, you need to trim, and then you need to grow the grapes, and then you need to pick the grapes, and then you need to smush the grapes, but not fully smushing the grapes, you're just trying to break the skin. That's very important. That's what we're doing at this stage. Then you need to leave them in a barrel.
Okay.
And then you squash the grapes. Then they are crushed separately. There's a whole process. At first you're just splitting them open so the yeast gets to the gooey bits inside.
Okay.
But then later on you're actually crushing them because you're actually making the wine. And then you can barrel age it or something lacto, something with bacteria that you do a thing to change properties of it. And basically you are trying to hit 4 or 5 different categories of like body and sweetness and
Winitude.
tannins of and like get those in the right balance, and it will go, you have done a good wine. And I did not care about the plot one iota.
No, you were just here for winemaking gameplay.
I was just here for drop the polyominoes on the thing.
Yeah.
And maybe I learn a little bit about winemaking, which I generally find really pretentious.
Yeah, but now that you know that you have to just break the skin, not smush them yet.
I do. I've learnt a thing about wine.
Yeah.
And there are long, complicated scientific names for all the different people who do different things around the wine. And making sure the grapes, the vines stay healthy.
Ooh.
And progressively you can like get enough money to expand your fields.
Yay.
Or buy more fields. at the end of 100 days, funnily enough, so 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years? 5 years.
5, yeah.
You've gone through all the plot. It turned out someone was someone important, but someone was also very evil and very bad. But we kind of knew that from the first moment we met them. And it's just like, oh, you've rumbled this thing and blown the cover all off this. And then there is a graphic of a leaf blowing off a vine and the credits roll. Because apparently 100 days is the time it takes for the leaves to fall off the vine.
Aha!
So the plot just stops there, and then it just dumps you back into the next year of the game.
Okay.
So
I'm glad that it lets you keep making wine if you want. It's not just you did 5 years, the game over.
Just as well, because at that point you've maybe earned like one extra vineyard and started growing one additional type of grape of about 7 or 8 types and a whole bunch of fields. There's like a whole upgrade system around your tool shed and your wine shed and your warehouse where you're storing the wine.
I'm glad you weren't there for the plot.
I wasn't there for the plot.
I'm glad.
I didn't give a fuck about the plot. But I did, because I injured my back like over a week ago now. So there's been a lot of sort of trying to get as comfortable as possible. And this was like Friday night, I think. I was like, I don't have anything to do. I can't really move very much. I'm not at all comfortable, but I am completely exhausted from being in pain for such a long period of time. I'm just going to do something really fucking mindless. And next thing I know, I was like, oh, it's much later than I expected. And I think something happened in the game, and I was like, cool, that's it. That is my break point. I could keep going, but I am completely exhausted and think I will actually fall asleep at this point, as opposed to just lying in bed going, I'm in pain and bored. So most of the fun was, there was a good degree of, like, initially just trying to squeeze everything into the tiny space.
Yeah.
As you get more fields, that gets even worse. As you buy more space, that gets a little bit easier, but then you get more fields again, and it just becomes harder to manage because there just isn't enough space even when you've bought the entire, every single one of the expansions to the field. My main fun came from giving the wines just awful names.
Yeah, you can name the wines.
You can name all of your wines.
Do you remember any particularly good...
Literal piss.
Hell yeah.
My first white wine, because you don't even start with a field of white grapes.
Yeah.
My first white wine was called Literal Piss.
I would buy a bottle of wine if I walked into Sainsbury's and I saw a bottle of white wine that just had written on the label Literal Piss. I would buy that white wine.
Would you buy a bottle of wine-flavoured grape drink, TM?
Yes. Look, as long as you put the percentage alcohol on there so I know it is alcoholic.
I think it was 12.5%.
Cool, yeah.
I did at one point make a 14% wine, which is a bit spicy, that one.
I mean, my understanding has always been that 14 to 17% is like the range.
Yeah. I did some quite mild wines, like some very... You can just drink this with friends and not be completely blasted after a single night.
I've had some 10% wines in the past that were quite nice.
Yeah. I had some, 85 stars out of 100 wines that were, selling really well. There's a whole aspect of selling a wine.
Yeah.
Like, people are just like, oh yes, I want to buy 50 bottles of your wine, but I want a discount of about this much. And eventually you can just buy a thing that plugs into your shop and goes, so we're selling to individuals and restaurants, but not to supermarkets because they always want too big a discount.
Yeah.
And we're trying to sell to people who want the lowest possible discount. And by that point, you're like making €1,000 a day. It's like, cool, I'm actually making money and feel like I'm actually expanding things eventually, and I can buy a new tractor rather than the crappy tractor that keeps breaking down. It's weirdly engaging, but it's not a game I would have paid for. And like viticulture A
Yes.
game I found myself weirdly interested in, despite having no interest in wine.
I mean, I'm surprised it took us this long to get to viticulture. It definitely feels comparable.
I mean, in that it is about making wine. The actual play style is completely different.
Yeah,
Worker placement versus essentially puzzle pieces.
indeed.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine wine. Ha ha. What about you? What else have you played?
The main other thing I've been starting to play around with is I've been putting some time in with the Ayn Neo Pro.
Ooh.
Sorry, the Ayn
Odin.
the Ayn Odin Pro.
Yes.
Too many of these handhelds with too many names. The Ayn Odin Pro is a Android-based handheld that has basically the same dimensions and weight as the Switch.
Yeah, maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah, like if anything, it's a little smaller. The screen's definitely a little smaller than the Switch OLED, but like it's a little bigger than the base Switch because it's got less bezel.
Yes. It's
but-
not all that heavy.
No,
What's
it's
the battery life like in that case?
so far from what I've tested, it's got like a good 8-hour battery
Okay.
from like, and I've not like thoroughly tested that like on specific use cases.
Because I remember when you got what was the tiny one?
Oh, the Ambinic or
Not the
the
Ambinic.
Retroid,
The Retroid.
yeah.
The Retroid, which weighs fucking nothing, and I was immediately like, what battery can this possibly have?
Yeah. So yes, yeah, I could hide this whole thing behind the OLED Switch,
Yeah.
and not see it. It's got little sort of molded grips on either side of it, so it's a little like less flat than holding a Switch. But like, I'm pretty confident you could put this in a Switch-like case and be like, yeah, it's like taking a Switch with you.
Yeah.
Um,
But it came in a case.
It did indeed. First of all, before I get onto anything else, this one has clear purple plastic, and you can see the components inside. And we need a resurgence of this.
Yes.
It's great. I can see that it's got computer bits in it.
Hell yes.
I can see a computer chip in there.
Bring back the transparent Game Boys.
Yeah. So this is primarily an Android-based device, and I'll get to dual booting Windows in a minute and talk about that.
But didn't you originally say to me that this was a Windows-based device?
It
Initially comes with Windows 11 on it, right?
It comes with, you can have it with Windows or with Android, or you can dual boot, and we'll get into this whole thing in a minute.
Okay.
So, I've primarily been playing around with the Android boot sector, and this is a very competent emulation machine.
Okay.
It's not quite up there with the Steam Deck, but obviously you're paying about 200 quid less than a Steam Deck.
Okay.
It's about the price of a Switch. Like, I think this model, including the dock, is about 300 quid. Whereas
And that is we should come to the dock separately in a minute.
yes, we'll get to the dock in a minute. But like, yeah, so this is about the same price as a Switch. It's a couple of hundred quid less than a Steam Deck, and there's a few systems that you can emulate on the Steam Deck that I've yet to be able to manage to emulate on this thing. Mainly, I've not found a good Android-based PS3 emulator,
Okay.
and Switch emulators do exist, but they have limited compatibility, and or the frame rate is kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, I managed to get Pokemon Legends Arceus running like at about 2/3 speed, which is still pretty good, but like not playable, I wouldn't
No.
say. But like everything up to 3DS, GameCube, Wii, PS2, you can run at like higher than standard resolution, perfect frame rates, runs fucking great.
I should hope that it runs GameCube,
Yeah.
given the dock.
I mean, yeah, well, here's the thing. You can run GameCube at, like, 2x native resolution with anti-aliasing added, and, like, you can run it with a bunch of nice post-processing filters and stuff. But yes, if you're looking for, like, an Android-based emulation handheld, like, the thing about this is, if you're running the Android stuff, that's where you're going to get the most mileage out of the processor, because it is a mobile processor designed for Android. You're going to have to do all the downloading emulators yourself. It's not like some of the things like the Retroid, the Ambinic, those various devices that will come with pre-installed emulators sometimes pre-installed games, you're going to have to go and find all the emulators yourself. But once you've set it up and Googled, like, community resources for what settings to set all the emulators to that work best for this device, it runs games really well. It is a really nice screen, very nice form factor, good balance of, like, battery life to form factor.
Yeah.
Like, the battery lasts really well, it's got a beautiful screen, you can run 1080p GameCube, Wii, 3DS, whatever. This is great. Let's talk about Windows. So, I've got this set up to dual boot Android and Windows. There is a Windows build for this called Valhalla that... here's the thing. The Ayn Odin Pro was initially being manufactured with one type of screen, and then later they swapped to a different type of screen. From what I can tell from looking online, there is no functional difference in terms of, like, image quality or anything like that between the two screens. They just switch part manufacturers partway through. Here's where the problem comes in. The build of Windows has drivers for the touchscreen of the first model of screen and not drivers for the second model of screen's touchscreen. So, right now, if you receive one of these that has the second model of screen, you can boot Windows and get to the setup screen and then go, touchscreen ain't working, I can't set up Windows.
Oopsie
So
doodle.
Windows works fine if you plug in, say, a USB mouse or keyboard, and you're like, oh yeah, here it is, it's running Windows. And I've not played around a huge amount with it yet, but I did find a workaround, which was plug in USB keyboard and mouse,
Right.
navigate through the setup into Windows, then map a button hold and the right analog stick on the built-in controller to be an emulated mouse,
Right.
so that I could navigate using the controller to navigate through Windows. Because all I really needed to navigate through Windows was to be able to install Steam, and be able to, when I boot into Windows, open Steam.
Right.
Because once I could do that, I was like, okay, I can open big picture mode and basically treat this somewhat similar to a Steam Deck for Windows game emulation, or, you know, at least until the touchscreen drivers for Windows for the second screen type are sorted, which should be soon, apparently, but...
Fingers crossed.
Much like when I received the Steam Deck, this thing feels like I have received it, still sort of hit the ground running a little bit.
What is it with hardware and software manufacturers now? Like, oh, we're just going to release it in beta and fix it post?
I honestly think it's the fact that the, particularly the emulator handheld market is moving so fucking fast with so many companies releasing things that they're desperate to get products out before
they become irrelevant?
Before the next company comes along with something that makes them irrelevant. Yeah.
Oof.
So I've not had a lot of a play around with Windows yet, but I did find a workaround. But bear in mind, if you pick one of these up, if you were to get one of these imminently around now, there is a 50-50 chance whether you'll have touchscreen support in Windows if you set up Windows dual boot. So take that with what you will. I will hopefully report back with more updates on the Windows functionality of this later, but right now I've mainly been using it as an Android emulation machine, and for that, it is really fucking good. Let's talk about the dock.
Let's talk about the dock.
Yeah, so this thing comes with or you can get it with a dock that is much like the Switch dock. It's got a USB-C port. It's got a clear plastic screen.
It does.
Rather than sort of like the Switch dock's like opaque plastic. This thing has so many fucking ports on it, including GameCube controller ports.
That was the first thing that got me, I must admit.
Yeah, right. So like, there's a bunch of USB ports. There's multiple different HDMI outputs of varying resolutions and things.
There's 4 GameCube ports on it. So
yeah, there are 4 GameCube controller ports on it.
fully do that.
And this thing can definitely handle GameCube, so if you want to play upscaled
Mario Kart
or Melee with original controllers, you can certainly do that. I want to mess around with this more to find out, like, will the GameCube emulator Dolphin, will it automatically detect plugged-in GameCube controllers in those ports, or will you have to manually configure them and set up what the bindings are?
Curious.
I'm very curious about that, but I would hope it would recognize it as like one of the USB GameCube adapters or something, but I need to play around with this thing more. It is a very nice form factor if you're just looking for a up to GameCube Wii 3DS portable emulation machine. It's fucking gorgeous for that. Being able to just plug it into a dock is nice, certainly compared to like the little bit of faff that's still involved in Steam Deck docking. But yeah, it's a nice piece of kit that I want more time to really work out how I feel about.
Yeah.
You played anything else this week?
A little bit of Jackbox Party Pack 8.
Oh yeah, we did.
Played some Wheel of Enormous Proportions.
That was a big wheel.
And Drawfee Animate.
Yeah.
Drawfee? Drawful.
Drawful. Yeah, Drawfee's different.
I said it right the first time. And then I doubted myself and did the wrong one.
We've all been there.
Yes. So Wheel of Enormous Proportion, a bit American.
We did
eventually find a toggle for that.
Yeah, to turn off some of the American-centric questions.
Yes.
But it is
We did all sit there for the first round going, I don't know.
Yeah, so it is a trivia game that is also a roulette wheel thing.
Yes.
So the best, like, you do trivia questions, and the better you do, the more wedges you get to place on this wheel. And once you have enough points to win, if the wheel spins and your wedge is landed on, which is more likely if you did well in the trivia, you get to flip over to the other side of the wheel to go, do I win? And there'll be lots of no win and a few yes win spaces, and the more times that happens, the better the chance of you getting a win.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a lot of set dressing around a trivia game.
Yep. And then there was Drawful Animate.
Drawful, yes.
Is make 2-frame animations rather than just draw a thing to a prompt.
But it's still the same general concept of, here is a prompt, you draw the thing, then people will see your drawing and have to come up with fake titles for what this could be called.
Yep.
And it was good fun laughs.
Yes.
I do think the 2-frame animation does add something to it gives you more space to be comedic.
Yes.
While still conveying the prompt.
Yes. Like the fact that we were still getting it, like, what was it, raining Parmesan?
Yeah, yeah.
Why are my feet smoking?
Yes. Take off boot and foot is one big toe.
Foot is one big toe.
Take off boot, one big toe foot.
Meatier feet.
Yeah, it's... the way I was playing it, and I think all of us ended up doing so to a small degree, was like using the 2-frame animation to be like, here is the one serious frame and here is the one silly frame, and between them there is enough serious information to help you get the prompt.
I mean, I kind of started like that because my avatar is literally me, like, licking the camera.
I think it helps that a lot of the prompts in that were very abstract.
Yes.
They were all very weird things.
Yes.
That would force you to draw something weird and helped disguise the true answer in amongst weird descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the prompts were written really weirdly in a way that would help hide them as well.
I also feel like that's going to be one of the few games that you're probably never going to get no, that's the correct answer, try again.
Yeah. You're never going to word for word write whatever the fuck that prompt was. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely my preferred of the two games that we played.
I think that's everything I've played.
Yeah, I think that's everything I've played.
Well then.
Time for this.
Do you want some of that?
Yeah.
Do you ever, like, wonder,
Yeah.
you know how there's, like, plant people,
There are plant people?
Yeah, they're like, their whole house is just like covered in plants.
Oh,
and
I
stuff,
thought you meant like people who were like living walking plants or something. But,
Well,
like,
I mean, maybe,
but-
I'm not willing to discount that just yet, I'll be honest.
You mean the sort of people who were like, oh, these plants are my babies.
Yeah, my babies.
Yeah, you've got like 8 plants in every room, yeah.
At least, yeah. And then, like, they've got windowsills, and all over the windowsills there's like cuttings, and like more plants,
yeah.
And there was like, oh yeah, I bought you like a plant,
Yeah.
And you know how like plants give oxygen,
Yeah.
and basically they're kind of feeding us.
Yeah.
So what if, right, those plant people, they're not just being friendly, they're being controlled by the plants to propagate.
Oh, I see.
You ever wonder that?
I can't say I've ever wondered that, but I mean, I'm gonna wonder it now.
I mean, you've got to really, ain't you? Because it's just how it is, There's could be plant people out there working for the plants, and maybe they don't even know about it. Maybe they do, but something to think about, isn't it?
It's about as much as I can think about right now.
Yeah, there's only one plant I care about.
It is I who have awoken the genie of the lamp.
Oh, I didn't think a head torch would have a genie in it.
Look, a lamp is a lamp is a lamp, and you've rubbed the lamp, and here I am.
I mean, I was trying to turn it on.
Well, I mean, look, I could do that for you, but before you ask me to, you get one wish. I can give you one wish.
Ah, you're one of the one-wish genies,
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a recession in this economy. I can only afford one wish.
Hey, I don't want to be greedy. I just understand that, there is a lot of stereotyping around the whole 3 wishes thing.
Well, exactly.
I'm pen you into that.
I'm glad you didn't pen me into that. I'm glad you're not asking all of the, can I ask for a wish for this? Can I wish for that? Cool, you've got one wish.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to ask, can I wish for the thing I want to wish for?
Well, I suppose.
And if you say no, I'll understand.
Yes.
There are probably some rules.
But yes, what is your wish?
Well, I would like soft, sleepy friends.
Would you like to be any more specific than that, or is this up to interpretation?
Just generally scattered around the world. Just some soft, sleepy kittens that are entirely self-sustaining. They don't need to eat or drink. They're just there, and they're soft, and they're good, and they're little sleepy friends, and they make people go, oh! And they make people happier just by their existence.
You know what? That one's on the house. There you go. You can have another one if you want. That was a pretty good one.
Okay, is this a prison thing? Are you happy being a genie, or would you want a freedom?
I'll take freedom if it's on offer.
Then I will wish you free.
Hurrah!
Thank you kindly.
No worries. It was a bloody good wish, that.
Yay, soft friends. So, Laura.
Yes?
What have you put in your eyes?
Not a huge amount, because I've been travelling. We mentioned this earlier, I did watch the Nintendo Direct.
I also kind of watched the Nintendo Direct.
My main takeaway is, I guess that Zelda that Zelda subtitle is why it's got delayed in the UK. No one wanted Tears of the Kingdom.
As they were moving the coffin.
As the coffin was getting moved. Oops, UK. But yeah, there were games. I'm excited to play many of them. Bayonetta 2, they released like a gameplay trailer for after the Direct, and that gameplay trailer looks fantastic. I cannot wait for Bayonetta 3 to happen. I'm trying to think what else there was during that.
Fatal Frame 3. I think it's 3?
Yeah, it's one of the...
It might be 4.
one of the Fatal Frames that people say is one of the good ones is getting remastered.
That never got translated to. I think it might
Oh,
be
is
4
this-
actually, because I'm sure I
Yeah.
had the first 3, and they said it's
So-
it never.
So
got
this is one of the
translated.
never translated ones.
Yes, and I'm guessing 5 was the one we got last year.
I believe so, yeah. So, hooray!
I was very excited for that because no one had even mentioned that. Like Twitter was abuzz with, there's Pikmin.
yeah.
There's there's new Fire Emblem, and no one had mentioned Fatal Frame. It was like, yes.
When I saw Fatal Frame, I was excited for you.
Yay!
I was like, I'm very glad you get another Fatal Frame on Switch.
Now I want them to do just the first 3 as a pack or something.
We want to get to the point where you can play all of the Fatal Frames on Switch.
PC,
and yeah, just have all the Fatal Frames.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting more Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame.
Yay! Good, I'm happy for you. I'm excited that Pikmin 4 is finally happening, like 7 years after they announced that it was completed and finished.
Yes.
Yeah, 7
Just
years.
a little bit of polish.
7 years ago, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's complete, it's finished. We're just waiting for the right time to release it." And then,
The time has come. The stars have aligned.
apparently so.
Sarcophagus has been opened.
Yep. More Fire Emblem, cool. This got leaked like 4 months ago with screenshots, so I'm glad that it's finally here.
Ooh.
That Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom looks real pretty.
We're going to learn a whole bunch more about the Zonai, which is very cool.
I am excited to fly on a big stone bird,
Yeah.
and
Sky surfing.
it really looks like there's going to be so much more verticality than I was anticipating. I didn't expect that much being that high in the air.
Yes, but I'm also curious, what about all the holes?
Yeah.
Is there going to be stuff under things as well?
I think that's the thing they're not showing us right now. I think that's going to be the,
That'll be the later reveal.
I think that's going to be like a month or so before the game releases. We're suddenly going to start seeing trailers of underground shit. I think that might be where the dungeons are. I
hope we get dungeons this
I
time.
feel like it has to happen. It was the biggest complaint that was going around with the original game.
I think we might get a combination of the two, individual little sky islands which will take the place of the shrines.
Yeah.
And then maybe some actual dungeons underneath stuff.
I want to know more about this game. There was so little gameplay in that trailer, and I'm desperate. I am thirsty for more.
Nom nom nom.
Nom nom. But yeah, that's Nintendo Direct.
New Harvest Moon? I don't know if people are still excited for Harvest Moon.
So I think that is one of the old ones. I think it's a GameCube one that's being remastered.
I recognised the subtitle. I was like, oh yes, but
Yes.
I didn't realise they were just remastering it.
I believe it's a remake or remaster of the GameCube one
Wonderful
that everyone
Life?
really likes. Yeah. Except it's not called Harvest Moon anymore because it's what? What's the fucking name of
Wait,
it now?
is it not? I clearly tuned out.
No,
I was like, it's a Harvest Moon
so,
game. Cool.
the Harvest Moon creators don't have the rights to the name Harvest Moon anymore. I think it's Story of Seasons they have to release it as
okay.
now. If you see a game with the name Harvest Moon on it,
Right.
that's not made by the Harvest Moon people.
Right.
The company that localized all of the Harvest Moons, did the translations and sold them in North America,
Right.
ended up walking away owning the rights to the Harvest Moon name despite never having developed a Harvest Moon.
Okay.
And now they develop really shitty knockoffs of Harvest Moon that are called
I had
Harvest
heard there
Moon.
was a bunch of PC Harvest Moons that were absolute shit.
Yes,
garbage.
that's because they're not made by the Harvest Moon team. They're the company that basically only ever localized the text and owns the name has been farming out the license to whoever will make one the cheapest.
Is that the company that tried to get Is it Concerned Ape? The Stardew Valley person. They tried. I think one of the two Harvest Moon people tried to get them involved in something.
Of the two, it's probably the ones that own the Harvest Moon name, Nicalis. Yeah, go watch the Matt McMuscle's What Happened video about Harvest Moon and the Harvest Moon naming rights. It is a mess of a story.
Yeah, I suspect that's where I saw it.
Yeah,
You probably watched it over no one.
quite possibly. But yeah, what about you? What you watched this week?
Well, we caught up with Rings of Power. We caught up with She-Hulk. Rings of Power. Fine. I'll keep watching it.
I remember basically nothing that happened in the episode.
We got consequences from the last episode, and
Yes.
Numenor is kind of Greco-Roman.
Yes.
That's really all that happens.
Someone had a bad foot and we worked out what to do.
A half-foot had a bad foot,
Yep.
and they worked out what to do because they were probably going to die if it wasn't for the stranger.
I didn't have a bad time watching it, but also
Yeah.
it felt very forgettable.
You had literally just got off a plane and were exhausted.
I mean,
so-
that's fair, but I think my opinion stands.
Oh, I agree with you. Like, it's fine, mindless, nothing television that I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it well enough.
Yeah.
It fills time about as well as all of the Silent Hill retrospective videos I've been watching recently.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to bring up. I'm still watching a bunch of gaming news videos.
Yeah. She-Hulk's been really good, though.
She-Hulk's been fucking great.
She-Hulk has continued to be fantastic. I laughed. I was invested in the tension. This is real good.
Yeah, you weren't also scrolling TikTok while watching it. That's it's a good show. It's fun. I am enjoying the cheekiness of it. We had the whole bad dating stuff this episode.
Yeah.
Which yeah, don't miss dating. Don't miss dating at all. And that kind of dating has never been my style. So
No.
yeah. And also all those gross people.
Yeah.
What else have you watched?
I've watched a couple of things on YouTube. Not a huge amount, but I was watching a lot of just like gameplay playthroughs. I was watching like I started watching the Wooly versus Silent Hill 3 playthrough that's just started.
Hello.
Yeah. I started watching that. I've mainly been watching a bunch of like Yu-Gi-Oh! And trading card game related videos in the background because I was traveling and wanted something not too brain.
Yes.
I've been watching the Broke Boy Yu-Gi-Oh! Budget deck challenges on the channel MBT Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the person who runs the channel and one other person will spin a roulette wheel to get a price value somewhere between 50 cents and $25
Right.
to then go on like some of the card, like the individual card purchasing websites and build an entire deck for that price, and then duel against each other and see how it goes. Now, granted, there's a little bit of fudging the numbers in that, let's say you can find a 1 cent copy of a card on that site, plus postage and packaging. They're not counting the post and packing costs.
Right.
But they'll go, okay, like, I very much enjoyed, say, the 50 cent one, where it's like, you have like, or the dollar episode, it's like, you've got $1 to make a passable working deck. What are you going to do? What 40 cards are you going to find that you can make a deck out of? And
Yikes.
there are some surprisingly good, like, workable archetypes they've managed to make work, and it's been fun watching them play within limitations and get to a point where $25 to make a deck is suddenly like, living like fucking kings right now. Life of luxury. I can afford a $2 card. Because, like, a lot of the archetypes, they'll be like, oh yeah, I can afford this archetype, but the one card that's like a linchpin, oh, that's like $2.50. Can't afford a set of 3 of those in my $6 deck.
Bless.
So that's been fun.
Right, that sounds fun.
The other one I've been enjoying is Staple or Stinker over on the Card Market YouTube channel and their various card market variants for different trading card games.
Okay.
So they will get someone who is very familiar with a trading card game and someone who is very familiar with a different trading card game and knows nothing about the first one.
Oh, it's just the how playable is this card?
Yeah,
thing.
so it'll be like, hey, let's bring in a Hearthstone player. How playable is the Yu-Gi-Oh card, The Grass is Greener? Is it a staple that, like, is so good it got banned and everyone was running it in their decks? Or is it absolute trash and no one runs it and it's terrible? And trying to get people with limited patchy knowledge of a trading card game they don't personally play to reason out with their wider card game knowledge whether they think a card is good or bad based on what they know.
Who were we chatting to recently who sort of initially went, oh, I vaguely remember Yu-Gi-Oh! From many years ago, and you barely started talking about it, they were like, oh yeah, Exodia with all the bits and the do the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, apparently, a whole floodgate was opened.
I mean, if you vaguely played Yu-Gi-Oh, like that's some of the stuff you'd have known from
I guess
back in the
Exodia
day.
is the big one.
Yeah, but
G1.
it's been very fun. For like watching other card game people like try and reason out Yu-Gi-Oh from my knowledge, and be up to date on like what are the meta breaking things of today, because I know enough about the rule set that I can reason out pretty well a new card I've never seen before and go, oh, that was definitely a staple. But it's also been interesting watching it for stuff like Hearthstone and card games that I don't know so well, where I'm like, I am in the same position as the person doing the guessing, where I'm like, I want to learn more about how your card game works by trying to reason out if that's a good card or not. And I feel like I've been learning a lot about card games I don't play, and that's been cool. Yeah, what about you? You watched anything else?
Me, I have been, I watched on the Suggestive Gaming channel on YouTube, Monkey Island, the story so far, brackets, what you need to know to play Return to Monkey Island.
Okay.
And this is a full breakdown of everything from Secret of Monkey Island, LeChuck's Revenge, Curse of Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island, and Tales from Monkey Island. And considering I played maybe 3 hours of Escape and absolutely none of Tales, it was quite nice to catch up with those bits of it, even if they're not necessarily going to be entirely canon. Because apparently shit got wild during Tales.
Yeah.
Shit was fairly wild, apparently, during Escape. So there's that, I guess. And I had apparently forgotten most of Curse. Curse is the one I've played the least of, I think. Well, of the ones I've finished. Yeah, I need to go back. I keep meaning to go back and try that, but I just somehow can't. Don't know why. I think it's because I've completed the normal version several times, and every time I load it up, I'm like, I should really play the Mega Monkey version of this. And then I remember just how fucking convoluted some of the puzzles involving just like... I think there's one in like a restaurant where you have to fly something on a balloon, get it outside, and then like pan for gold out of a drain.
If you ever want a co-pilot to go through that with, to be on this puzzle's confusing the fuck out of me walkthrough duty,
I think we should at some point do like a Monkey Island walkthrough.
I'd be very up for doing all of the Monkey Islands together.
Well, not all of them. We don't have to do Escape or Tales.
No, if we want to do the good Monkey Islands together, I'm very up for making that a thing we do once we finish A Link Between Worlds, maybe.
Yay! We can pay point and clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very informative and well put together, including like some brief explanation of some of the puzzles. Nothing too complex. Just I'm basically telling the story, and at some points I'm gonna have to go, and you had to do this to get that. So yeah, it's fun. What else have you watched?
I think that's it for me, really. Other than that, it's just been a lot of like watching actually re-watches of episodes I've already seen, just because I needed low brain stuff while traveling and being in unfamiliar places. I just needed stuff I'd already watched and already knew, that kind of week.
Oh yes.
Have you watched anything else, or is that...
I have watched lots of tutorials about how to make Foley. I have a rough idea how to make a squeak box now, even though I do not own any of the tools required to make that kind of hole or anything that size. Squeak box is basically a thing used for making like squeaky door sounds. It's like a bunch of 2x4s together into a like a square, almost like a picture frame.
Yeah.
And then you drill a hole through it, you put a dowel through that, and you put a handle on the dowel.
Yeah.
And then you have an eye bolt that goes through the top that ties a string onto the dowel going through the middle, and a little bit of the wax they put on violin bows.
Okay.
And then you twist it, and it makes a real cool creaky noise.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. And I read an awful lot of articles about what is the most discordant and how to make discordant sounds. So I have made many discordant sounds.
You have sure made some discordant noises.
Which we will come to in listened, I guess.
Yeah.
That's everything I have watched this week.
Well then, time for this.
Oh, Laura, got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you have social medias?
Unfortunately, yes.
Are they full of sad?
They are.
Are they full of enforced sad this week?
Ah, they really are. I am legally required to be sad and I don't like it.
Well,
would
yes,
rather
they
not.
will arrest you if you have so much as a blank piece of paper in public these
I
days.
know. I watched the Nintendo Direct and they were banging at the doors like, oh, that's too much happiness you're having.
Are you watching that? You're supposed to be delaying it an hour.
You're supposed to be sad for a bit.
Morning, get out of Centre
Oh.
Parks.
What? They are going to let people stay in Centre Parks now. They've changed their mind on kicking them out. So what are you going to do about my terrible social media feeds?
Well, try AIFeedClean.lol.net.
What's that?
Our AI algorithm will systematically detect and remove bigots from your feed, replacing them with an AI-generated cute animal photo to fill in the gaps. It even works when some well-meaning leftist is quote tweeting them.
Oh, wow.
Or even when they've screenshotted them. It'll just pick that out, and you can instead have a quokka sitting at a dining table in a restaurant with a little bow tie.
See, I was going to ask why it had to be AI-generated images that were being put into the feed, but I'm realising now there's a lot of terribleness in my feed.
Oh no, the images aren't AI generated, it's just AI powered to, detect the bad stuff.
It was me assuming that it was going to have to generate, images of animals using AI because there weren't going to be enough animal images out there to keep my feed full. But...
Hey, look, there might be some repeats, but that's a small price to pay for that quokka not being some kind of hideous nightmare creature.
I mean,
with
look,
too many faces.
Look, I do appreciate the fact that I'm not going to have to look into the uncanny of adorable Kawaka sat at a table.
The Unvalley Calling, you say?
the uncanny Quokka Valley. Look,
I've never stared up an uncanny quokka valley, I'll be honest.
Look, I can't say words right now, but I can look at adorable pictures of a duck wearing a bowler hat.
Oh.
Or here is a kitty cat dressed up like a character from Beauty and the Beast.
And here is just a capybara being a capybara.
Yeah, just chilling with an
Beloved
animal
by
that
all.
you would think would want it dead, but they're just chilling together.
Yeah, they're just having a nice time, they're hanging out.
Yeah.
Here's a cat that watches cartoons.
Oh, it goes and gets its owner and say, hello, put a TV on it.
Please,
I would like my Pingu, please.
I would like to make shows, please.
I would like my Pingu.
Pingu.
Yeah.
Not Paw Patrol, A-Cab.
Hey, Cab, Pingu, please. They also like fish.
I think they've watched Bluey as well. I think they've released videos of that cat watching Bluey now.
Oh,
It's adorable.
that cat's great.
That is a great cat. Anyway, that's AIFeedClean.lol.net, and you can get 100% off your first 7 days. I guess that's just a free trial, I think. A free, I don't know what that means.
Well then.
Time for this. Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, Code Red.
What?
Big alert.
Alert.
Big
Alert.
bad. Alert. Big bad time. We're gonna have to postpone our big game reveal
But our
conference.
stock prices.
I know. Number go up. I know.
I
but
love my number go up.
I know.
was
But
ready
we
for
don't
that.
look. We don't want to get flack from the government officials who subsidize our not paying taxes, and I think we're about to upset a lot of people if we don't postpone.
But wait, I mean, what could possibly mean that we have to postpone our upcoming game, Death to the Problematic Protector Queen?
Well, I mean, look, yeah, see, that, that's what I thought at first, but the problem is I started looking down the list of announcements we have.
Right.
I'm pretty sure absolutely every one of them could get us in trouble by
Right.
accident of coincidence.
Right. Yeah. What?
I don't think we can release I'm glad that the rich colonialist is dead.
Yeah.
I don't think we can release that right now.
I mean, I'm surprised we're even making a title like that.
Well, I mean, look, it was going to be about a fictional person in a fictional place where it's
Right.
fictional, but
Yeah.
people are unfortunately going to draw parallels.
Yeah, I mean, you did give them all that weird Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent.
Exactly, but like here's
You
the problem.
insisted on that.
I know, but like here's the problem. There's people who hate the rich types, and that's a market that we could exploit for their money and make us more rich. I thought it was a genius idea.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying that for years. We corner the armchair communists.
Yeah, exactly. The people
ones who would buy a leather-bound
Yeah.
copy of the Communist Manifesto, that kind of thing.
the kind that would be like, I hate capitalism, let me throw all my money at products about how much I hate capitalism.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I don't think we can release Abolish the Monarchy, Strikers, Football. I don't think we can release our abolitionist soccer game right now.
I mean, I heard that republicanism was really big right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big. It's I'm always hearing about my senator.
Yeah.
and they're Republicans, so that's a good thing, right?
But like, look, I'm looking down the list. I don't think we can release the Eternal Queen Who Lives Forever. I don't think we can release Female Ruler Unchained. Look,
From this mortal coil.
our slate of titles. I don't know how we got to a point where our slate of titles was this skewed, but we cannot. Look, we cannot.
Look,
we cannot
someone
announce
been
them
messing
right now.
with the hat of titles.
I think someone's been.
Let me try. Let me see what I got right here. So, death to the queen of the quaint little island nation.
Look, let's just pour the moral out. Let's just check. Okay, yeah, there are other titles in here. Look, there are other words in here, but when I put them back in the basket and I pull one out, like, one at a time...
Yeah, okay, what do you have there?
Yeah, Her Majesty,
Yeah.
Battlefield, Assault. I don't think we can make that right now.
I mean, she comes charging in on a flashing white charger, leading the assaults, and what could possibly be wrong with that?
Look, I think we gotta postpone this. We'll push it back an hour. We're announcing an hour from now. That'll dodge all of the
an hour.
controversy.
Everything will blow over in an hour.
Exactly. We do it we do the American one as planned. We push the UK one back by an hour. Problem solved.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
Again, it's been a light listened week for like new music, mainly because traveling and I needed familiarity. It's been a lot of like listening to stuff I know inside out already.
Yes.
But I did listen to a few new things. I listened to a new OFK track because I played episode 5 and that meant there was more OFK music to listen to. The fifth and final track off the EP and the game is called Thanks. And it's a really neat song, but the thing I want to highlight about why I like it so much is that it's very tied up in the narrative of the game, and I'm gonna like try and stay spoiler light on this, but there is a period in the final episode of this story in the game that is very much about having to try and record music with in suboptimal conditions without having the fancy tech, and that's sort of trying to make something sound endearing when you've really just got a shitty USB microphone and that's about all you've got to record with.
Yeah.
And while all of the music that OFK's released in this first EP has been very polished, very produced, this final track ends with like a little fade out of just the core hook of the song being recorded in really low quality, just one microphone, one voice, one guitar, like clearly one take, no editing. And it's a really nice way to end the track, but it's also just a really nice like, it as someone who's made shitty, like, let's get a whole band in front of one microphone and we all just do it in one take kind of music.
Yep.
There's something really fucking endearing about the way they've used it. Like, it's very clear that they've deliberately lent into shitty mic quality and, like, they've manufactured it sounding bad.
100%.
But, like, they have managed to sell it in a way that doesn't feel contrived or... It feels authentic even though it's clearly calculated, and I think that's a tricky thing to pull off. It really nicely summarizes, like, narratively where that game ended, and just sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be more room for music made kind of shittily without the right tech, but made with heart.
Yeah, I know two bands in, oh gosh, probably the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I was going to say really recently, but actually, time is an illusion. Who recorded, one recorded an EP, the other recorded an entire album on iPhones.
Yeah.
Not even fairly recent ones.
Like, one of my favourite My Chemical Romance recordings ever is not the album version of one of their tracks, but it's the attic demo for Early Sunsets Over Monroeville. And that is, like, single take or very few takes, just recording in an attic to a single microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, some of the vocals on that are so much better because it's very clearly one person just giving it their all and they had their one good, like, their one really emotional moment captured. I love a good bit of shitty recording quality but really fucking giving it your all music.
That's
So,
why you go
yeah.
to a lot of live shows.
Exactly. I'm here for live shows like the one where I saw Na 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 get played at double speed accidentally. Shit like
Hell
that's
yeah.
great. Fucking mess shit up, but go for it.
Oh.
But I did listen to a little bit of other music. Mainly, I finally, like, I'd listened to it once or twice, but I finally, like, gave some proper time to listening to the new song by Convoke, which is that band.
That band, what did you...
What did a song what I was in. Yeah, they've got a new song called Shattered Reality, which, the best way I can describe it is, what if you mixed some techno with some death metal? About rejecting your old self as a trans person and being unable to put the transness back in the bottle once... Oh no, oh it's out, you can't put that back in the bottle. But also, this techno death metal mix has some very Evanescence reminiscent sort of femme melodic vocals used for contrast with the heavy sound, but also some death metal screams.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful, chaotic mix of a track that I really like. What about you? What do you listen to this week?
I listened to a bunch more Welcome to Night Vale. I am slowly plodding on with that. I've just had the intern Dana reporting from the dog park.
Oh, yes.
And the whole almost being kind of a ghost thing involving that. We've had the summer reading program.
Oh, yes, I love the summer reading program.
And I just started to get Strex score stuff. Yellow helicopters and such. So, I feel like I am approaching the point where I started to fall out of this the second time, possibly the first time. So we'll see how well I do this time.
Yay!
Meandering along slowly. Yeah, still enjoying it so far. I enjoy listening to Cecil's voice. It is always a bit weird listening to the adverts before the show because they're all relevant.
Yes.
It's like, hang on, are you talking about when this was recorded or originally broadcast?
Yes.
No, you're not. You're talking about stuff that's happening later.
they will routinely go in and edit what file is on the RSS feed so that it has new up-to-date adverts.
Yes.
Which is unsettling.
Yes. You listened to anything else?
No, I think that's it for me, really.
Well, then I have listened to two other things. One of them requires some explanation.
Okay.
So, friend of the show, James Stephanie Sterling,
Yeah?
got a threatening letter from the TV licensing
Oh,
people.
yeah, I know where we're going. Okay.
So, they were like, yeah, haha, very much looking forward to them turning up to do an inspection. and me telling them to fuck off, and someone in the Twitch was like, yeah, but you could do this instead. And someone was like, but what if? Get the husband involved.
Yeah.
Hi, Faye. Happy birthday for tomorrow, but also
Yes.
several days after from when this officially goes up. So they suggested get the husband involved, tell them the TV's downstairs in the basement. They get downstairs, Cornflakes Homunculus is there, watching a TV that's just static, holding a NES controller that's not plugged into anything. And the husband's like, alright. And then the homunculus just turns and screams.
Indeed.
And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. But modern TVs don't make static. They don't do. They just do the blue flickery thing. They don't really make static. But I could make some static. And, if you could maybe inquire, say you want some ID from the person before they get there. If you could get, a picture of them sent to you, we could maybe make their face sort of slowly come out of the static or something. And that seemed like a lot of effort. But not enough to not do that. Anyway, I went into my video editing of software of choice, and I was like, I have a way of making static and animating it and making sure that it, looks sort of right traditionally. So I made exactly half an hour of static, and I added exactly half an hour of white noise. And I was like, my work could be done, but it's absolutely not going to end there, is it?
Yeah.
I own the plug-in Horrorbox, so I can just make horrible noises happen. So I did, and I was like, that sounds fine. It wasn't enough.
You needed more.
I needed more, so I
More.
stripped out the entire audio file from a kind of artsy film I made many years ago called Abandonment Issues. And then I fucked around with that. It's full of heartbeat sounds and crying and snivelling and screaming.
Yep.
So I think I slowed it down and reversed it and put that over the top of a good chunk of the end of this thing. So the first 5 minutes, there's a few little static breaks that will draw your attention to it. That and then it just goes back to constant static. But yeah, by the time you've hit about 10 minutes into this, there's just these horrible, slow, creepy noises happening in the background. I added tons of extra stuff to it, and that is available as a hidden track on my on this SoundCloud that you are listening to this on now, called License Inspection.
Yes.
I will be making that available publicly to everyone who doesn't already have the link on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put that all together in a video and morphed in pictures of Steph's face as the commander, and there's fire and water effects and all sorts of weird shit, and lots of occasional faces of the commander just skimming across the screen and static, and I found out that you can make really fucked up noises in Audacity by loading exe files in as raw data and then finding any bits in it that doesn't sound just like white noise. Because you get just really fucked up glitchy noises.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be really careful when you're editing those because they can initially come out very loud and literally just break your speakers.
No, thank you.
So I get that nice and low down, so it won't damage anyone's equipment, but it does sound really fucked up.
Just a little.
So yeah, that was my Wednesday night while also chatting to Fee.
You created quite the fucking thing.
It's horrible, but also fun as heck.
Mm.
So the next thing I did was this, and this is where all the discordancy came in.
Mm.
I was like, I had fun making that thing for Steph. I'm gonna make some music in the style of like the Silent Hill soundtracks.
Yeah.
And not the more musical stuff, like the weird industrial fucked up, weird discordant noises with lots of like wow and flutter and strangeness. So I found a drone maker that has this weird effect that sounds a little bit like shortwave radio that's detuned.
Yeah.
And I literally live played that for like 5 or 10 minutes and recorded that out, and then used that as a basis for my track. I used a bunch of other sort of like vocal sounds, again like breathing, panting, crying, sniffling, screaming, and like pull stretched them, which is a weird kind of semi-granular synthesis thing of just take a sound and make it just go on for ages.
Is this
without
what you did
changing...
with the heartbeats?
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I did, so one of the crying ones I did 2 versions of. Both of them 10 times as long as they'd originally started. And the good thing about pull stretch is it doesn't like change it automatically to just be like really low because it's stretched so much out.
Yeah.
And I did 2 versions. One where there was like a nice smooth, like a whole smoothing effect between one sound and the next. So it does like an almost reverb lead in, reverb lead out. Or preverb, reverb, I guess. And another one that was like much more slow and gentle. Sorry, one slow and gentle, one really fucking harsh. So it goes into the noise almost exactly as it was before. So things are a little bit more sudden. Messed about with like a bunch of different samples, put them in at various stages. I messed around with some like impact sounds, added like tons of echo and distortion and bit crushing, and it all sounds very unreliable. I detuned a piano by 56 cents, which is way off key. Like, no part of that is ever going to be on key now. It's wildly off. I again added a bunch of wow and flutter to that. Loads of weird distortion and reverb. And it then made sure that nothing was played on the beat. Like, officially that track is at 150 BPM. Nothing sits on a beat. Not one single aspect sits on a beat. There's like a footstep sounds that's played backwards. That, I suppose, constitutes a beat of its own at one point. But even that does not sit on the grid at any point.
Yeah.
And you said it was really disturbing.
You did a really good job of making something deliberately uncanny. It's very clear you understand the rules of sound and music well enough to just break them enough that it is uncanny and not sounding broken.
Yes.
It sounds like it's meant to be how it is, and how it is wrong.
It is intentional. Very, very intentional, but also very wrong. I had so much fun making that, and I've listened to it almost on repeat all week. I also listened to another thing. I made a nice piece of music.
You did.
I used the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover Library, which is free. If you don't know how, if you go to the website, there is just a way of just getting it downloaded for free. It's only 200 meg. It doesn't take up a huge amount of space. It's nowhere near the 36 gig of the first paid version of that, which is 300 or 400 quid. So yeah, nice to try out a free thing of. I've never tried orchestration really before. I've used flute occasionally. Like a flute, I like a harp. I've used a harp a few times. This was the first time I went, I'm going to use bassoon and clarinet and timpani, and I think there's mambria in there as well. There's 2 types of violin, celeste. There's a lot of different instruments. I had a really good time, and that's like a 9-minute long piece. Again, I have listened to I've been listening to those 2 tracks like on repeat all week.
They're real good.
They just make happy.
They're real good. I've been listening to one of them on repeat more than the other because one of them I think would have an impact on my work output.
Oh no.
I think if I listened to one of them I'd be writing a lot spookier things.
Yeah, so You Will Do, which is the creepy one, again, that's going to be made available on Halloween. And blah, blah. I can't remember. Oh, Last a Moment is currently up on the Bedroom Programmer. SoundCloud, where you can listen to it right now, but it is not available to download yet. It will be eventually. This is my rule. If it's available for download, you're welcome to use it in things. Just, tell me, because I can plug your thing.
Yeah,
and
you get
know
excited to
that
be like, oh, that's my thing,
that's
isn't
my
that?
thing. You got used to the thing. Like, some of my music has been used as podcast intros before. So
I will routinely use yours. I will probably be using it tonight while I'm waiting for the State of Play to start. Or I need some background sound until presentation.
And if you wanted to introduce them to something new, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it hasn't got a download, then that is not yet. Don't worry, it will happen. I go through them periodically and add download links to everything. But that's the thing. And that is everything I've listened to this week. Laura.
Well then, time for this. Oh, the weather's been grim today.
It has been pissing it down all day.
It's so dark out already.
Yeah, what is it, like 6? And it's almost pitch black.
Hey, where did all these root vegetables come from?
Ah, that is a lot of potatoes and sweet and carrots and parsnips, onions, bit of garlic over there. I think I heard a noise. I think this might be someone in the house.
Oh no!
Maybe someone in the house.
Oh no!
It is soup season.
Hi?
Hey, can we help you?
Are these yours?
It is soup season.
I guess it's a little chillier than it has been. I mean, it was quite nice at the weekend. It was quite
Soup season.
okay. And we just start
We
peeling now. Or?
Yeah. Or can we do it when it's dinner time?
Soup season. It will take time to prepare. You better start now. Soup season.
Seems to be going.
Okay.
Soup season.
I'm glad. Okay.
Seems.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Get on it.
Think that's the door going. Well, I guess we're making soup. Oh my god, dude, I'm so glad I caught you. I have had the most amazing idea, okay?
Up. Stop. Is this like all of the amazing ideas you've had before that were usually either stolen or offensive or both or danger? Is it those?
No, this one's completely new and original. You see, the idea...
No. Okay, is it a crime? Is it going to lose you all your money? Is it a crime repackaged as if it's not a crime?
I swear, it's like this whole idea I've had...
No, okay. Is it NFT? If it's NFTs again, you have to tell me if it's NFTs again.
Look, I told you I'd never do NFTs again probably this week. And so my idea is so much better than that. But
stop though. Are you sure it's not? Because the last 3 times you told me it wasn't going to be NFTs, not only was it NFTs again, it was a pyramid scheme selling NFTs, where you had to sell NFTs to people who sold NFTs.
Well, that was that other one that was literally just chaining bricks together. The literal blockchain.
No. Okay,
it's better than that. It's way better than that. I swear. So basically, what it is,
No. Look, are you sure? Look, just stop and breathe for like 3 seconds. Are you sure it's a good idea?
Yeah, bro, it's totally a cool idea. Anyway, here's one thing.
Okay, if you're sure, are you sure?
So what it is, right? Well, you know those big wholesale places?
Yeah.
You get, like, the big canisters of, like, stuff. Like, you can possibly never use the thing in time, right? Especially, like, as you're, like, just one person, and I'm just one person.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, like, a family of 20 would get through it, but, like, my idea, we break those down into smaller portions, and then we, like, sell it to our friends, and we don't have to make a huge amount, but we just make enough of a markup, and we only do it amongst our friends. It's not going to be, like, a huge commercial venture, right? It's just a bunch of us pulling together to buy the big thing, and then we split it between us, and then we have the things we need, but at a lower price, given how the cost of living is, like, going up at the moment, my dude.
You are a totally smart dude.
I am. I'm a totally smart dude. And this time, I didn't even consider mending it. Maybe I should mend it.
Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah. Alright, Larry.
Oh, Barry, how you doing?
Don't see bad, mate. You even up so much?
Oh, trying to resist being forced to be sad on National Be Sad Week.
Well, yeah, I
Feel like-
hear they will arrest you if you aren't.
I mean, there's
Publicly being sad.
there's been a weird amount of pressure to be sad this week about a person who I never met and will never meet, who
And
was
fundamentally disagreed with
Indeed, was a
their
fundamentally-
role within society.
Indeed, not only as a member of the monarchy, but also the specific things done as a member of the monarchy.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna shit on the parade of anyone who's, is sad, but also, it's very weird, this idea that we should all be, existing this week for like a week or more in some kind of big parasocial relationship mourning ritual. It's a weird one.
It was a weird one. Like the first day, I didn't really know how to feel because a lot of what I was seeing, like within the first 5 minutes, was weird memes involving Paddington Bear and the Queen, and Paddington was leading the Queen to the afterlife like some kind of death figure.
Yeah.
And I did have to wonder, had they also somehow managed to kill Paddington Bear on the same day as like some kind of ritual thing?
It was a weird one in that, I saw, initially I saw a bit of a wave of, don't be weird about it, a person's died. But, I saw a lot of people who I was genuinely surprised to see them as sad as they were and, being like, oh, why aren't you performing the sadness right? And, we've had all these weird, performative things this week, places closing down for multiple days and stuff. And it's one of those that, there's been a pressure to feel sad that, I just have not felt. And I feel like it's important to be it's okay for me to not be sad about the death of a person I do not know. The things I do know about that person are things I fundamentally morally disagreed with.
Yeah.
I think it's okay for me to not feel sad because I'm told I'm supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, it has got to a point now where I do feel sad about the situation, but weirdly, it's not about the person that's died. It's about the consequences of other people's actions surrounding that, like people who've been waiting years for surgery that they need,
People
having
who've
that
had-
cancelled because the mourning.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one that's, really gotten me that, you'd think someone would have to see the fucking parallels going on is people whose funerals for their loved ones, who they knew and were, specific individuals in their lives, their funerals getting cancelled because of the week of being sad for the Queen.
There is only one funeral that matters, apparently.
Yeah, not the person who you lived with for decades and know and love as an individual. You've got to be sad about the state figure.
Yeah.
The
one I saw that really sickened me today was there's a crop going or a screen grab going around of Wimbledon Food Bank, and I always thought Wimbledon was quite well to do. Wimbledon Food Bank will be closed on the 19th. There will be no food because the Queen's died, and we're having a funeral. There'll be a funeral.
We've seen strike action being cancelled, the ability to file petitions against the government put on hold. Shit like this.
And yet, we have also seen licensing for fracking slip out.
Yeah.
We've seen Liz Truss's funding sources come out.
Yeah.
We've seen quite a lot of bad news being buried, as they like to pretend they never say.
Exactly.
But it's very deeply disturbing. And the other thing, of course, has been the please stop leaving marmalade sandwiches at the gates of Buckingham Palace as part of your mourning. It's going off and having to be thrown away. Meanwhile, there's people starving because the food banks are running dry. Secondly, because the food banks will be closed.
And it's fucking difficult to feel, for me personally, feeling too sad because, Here we're getting a week of mourning for a person who lived to the age of 96 in stolen opulence, has never the most
Never really
privileged
experienced any hardship.
the most privileged a person could possibly have.
Yeah.
And they get a week of national mourning, and yet we're probably about to have a winter of God knows how many elderly people not making it to 96 and tragically dying, before their time because they can't
we
afford
will
to
not be
meet their
having
homes.
a nationally enforced mourning week for every one of those, because
No.
I guarantee we'll probably be here a few years.
Indeed,
The way the
indeed.
government are treating things.
And again, no begrudging to anyone who is mourning, but
Yeah,
the
no.
expectation that everyone is supposed to be, and that this should be like a more than a week-long process if everyone has to mourn, is like weird and gross.
Yeah, and on top of that, we've got the fact that we're paying for a state funeral and
At a time we can scarce fucking afford it.
and a coronation.
Yeah.
And as several people pointed out, every possibility that we'll be having another funeral and coronation in a few years' time anyway, because, I don't understand that he's in the best of health, generally speaking.
I mean,
and,
doesn't seem it.
he's-
Doesn't
he's
seem it.
quite an elderly fellow anyway. I'm sure they will do, all the stuff toffs can afford to do health-wise, but, it's, still costing a nation that is, frankly, struggling. If you're not a billionaire already,
Yeah.
or someone who is going to, own a business that's going to get lots of tax cuts.
Yeah, it's a weird, surreal week.
Yeah, deeply disturbed, mate. You fancy a hug?
Oh, yeah.
Ah. Yeah. Good hug, mate. Good hug.
Good luck.
Right, I think I'll go pop the kettle on.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
No. So, Laura.
Yes.
Book. Like a chicken, book.
Yeah, well, we've got one, and it's coming out like early next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can say when it's coming out, probably. No one said we can't. According to places that sell books, 16th of February 2022. Who
Yeah.
Wants the Whale?
Yeah,
That's...
but you can pre-order it right now.
You can pre-order it right now. If you go pre-order it on Unbound, you can get a signed copy or all sorts of backer rewards before those get
Some
closed.
very cool swag.
Yeah, gosh, we're in September now, so October, November, December. Like 5 months it's going to be out.
Oh, shit.
But you can have it like a month or 6 weeks early if you pre-order it through Unbound.
Wow. At sunbound.com/book/whale. There will be a link in the in the bio in the description.
Yeah, go check that out.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can find me at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere. Just Laura K Buzz. I'm hard at work on other books. You'll find out about them soon. I've not been terribly subtle. I'm working on another anthology. I think that's fairly clear.
I mean, you did ask publicly for submissions.
I did indeed. What about you? What are you? Where are you on the internet?
Linkter.ee. I have a link tree. It's linktree.com. Linkter.ee/Janiac. There's no .com. Just an EE. Janiac, you can find all my links to my Redbubble, both of my SoundClouds, the one where you were listening to this, the one where you can listen to bedroom programmer music. We have all sorts of things. My most important one is patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. You can join all the lovely people who are already there supporting me for as little as $1 a month and help me get to that much hoped for 30 patrons. That would be awesome. I would be very excited by that. You too, you can join potatoes, become one of us, and help support me and get early access to stuff sometimes. And if you pledge $10 a month or above, you can get early access to Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It usually goes up a few days before, very much depending on when the embargoes are.
Yeah, that's occasionally a thing.
It is a thing, but Anyway, I think that is everything. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate all of you listening. Thank you for doing so, and there's been a lot of people. I don't know if you know this. We've had numbers go up.
Numbers go up.
Numbers go up.
Woo!
Rick and Chad would love that.
They would love that.
I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
everyone for listening and coming along and spreading the word. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
So Laura, releasing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.